I've enjoyed.
Oh, really?
I'm strange, but I've enjoyed
I'm
it.
a Mason, so it found.
I wish you'd give us 5 minutes to blow our nose first.
There comes you. There's it.
Who's on? We got anybody online on?
No.
We were just talking about you. It was mostly good.
Oh,
Oh, no, wait a minute, you have to sit up here.
I think.
No.
I'll do whatever.
you're good anyway,
I'll
too.
do what I need to.
Make him secretary, quick.
I was just thinking the same. I think he is secretary.
Yeah. That's what I got.
No.
Take notes.
Miss Amy's got that for you now.
They very well.
Okay.
But you often have a bank meeting on those, a lot of those nights, I think, or something.
Thursday.
I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know. It just depends.
Understood. I left my committee sheet at home, see, we miss it.
Just Beverly and Amber.
I was thinking Amber was on here, I couldn't remember Beverly was on it. That's what I was looking for. You're already ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
So the mayor wasn't coming back to this one.
I'm sorry.
He want to make it back here, thanks.
I don't know.
Okay.
Do we have anybody online?
I don't see any, that's what I just looked at.
I figured Beverly went log in. She might
And then we get online, so we'll have somebody online.
Do we have an agenda?
Yeah.
Sorry, Ted, it's right here to sign it too.
I guess I could have sat up here with the rest of my friends.
Says delivered, Beverly, let me give it. I hadn't heard back from her. Bet she's back there next week, we'll see. I guess it is, I've got 7 o'clock, we'll call meeting to order. Communications committee meeting here on March 11th. We are in the upstairs courthouse at 7 p.m. here. This meeting will be conducted with Zoom. In sticking with where we've been, we might do that to make sure that but you're pretty sure that we don't have to have okay. So pursuant to Governor Lee's executive order number 16 and subsequent orders, and the need to limit the community spread of COVID-19 to March 11th, 2021, Hartsville Trousdale County Communications Committee will be held with an electronic means option. It is being held through Zoom. There was a Zoom link attached with the on the calendar as well, I believe, with this one. So if anyone's seen that part, we've covered those pieces. And if we will call it to order and look tonight, first off, on attendance. We've taken attendance. We have 2 absent there tonight. Try to get in touch with Beverly. She might have just not that one here. All right. So I hadn't heard from Amber either, so we'll see. But we'll move on from there. If you will, read through the minutes of the February 23rd meeting. Ms. Amy's did a great job. I know when she originally sent these to me, she's like, the best I can come up with off the video is this.
That was different.
We'll move from there.
Make the motion to approve.
Mr. Jewell, second, as well here in this case, as we move on from this part, Mr. Buckmaster second that, I'm sorry. My bad, Mr. Buckmaster. So as we move from that part, then, minutes are as read, the motion to accept the minutes as read, and, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion does carry. As we look, at the next part of this case, I did ask on the first one there, number 4, I want to tell Miss Amy, I certainly appreciate how this, the website itself is moving along.
I thought Mike on.
I don't know, I thought, no, sir. So, no, that's the better place to be. Do it.
That sounds much better.
There we go, sorry.
That makes, well, for them.
Understood.
Yeah,
Did we have any?
well, just people that are watching.
Yeah, understood. So, sorry about that. Forgot to turn the mic on. We'll get better at those things as we go along. But let Miss Amy here discuss a little bit with website updates and anything she's seeing as positives and our number of usage. I think I saw the mayor sent out maybe 2 weeks ago, the number of usage, I believe I saw. That was a number seemed to be giving pretty good traffic. That's good to see. Are you seeing anything that you want to update us on?
Well, I just did a quick data analysis. Since January 1st of this year to today, we've had 8,250 users. Of those, we've had 7,805 new users. And out of that, there's 3,291 that are accessing it from their mobile phones. So I found that pretty interesting. Again, since January 1st, we've had 21,303 page views. Most of those can be attributed to the water department, and then health department and building codes follow after that.
Filling out the information forms and pieces.
Those are the most
Getting good,
trafficked pages.
getting good traffic. So does it keep up with traffic of each page?
Yeah.
Good data there on that part. So as we look along, I know it'll see a few traffic for myself. I like to use it for opportunity to look back over minutes and all those pieces. Just quick, easy file access to the minutes and all the pieces. It's very user friendly on that side of things. So appreciate that update. Those are good numbers. I mean, in this case.
Okay.
I would say on a typical day, I'm on it at least 5 times. I mean, looking for something or checking on something. So it's been a tremendous help for me.
So out of that questionnaire, how many of those are, is that 8,000 different users, or can't really tell?
I believe it's the different users. It's the way it's playing out, especially since it can tell me that there were 7,000 new users.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. With that much new users,
Yeah, it can tell me returning ones.
that's good to see. Lots of good use then, starting to get easier access. And it's easy for a public if they need to access something. It's very, very user friendly on that end of things. Any questions for Ms. Amy on that part? I think I'm very much appreciative how the website's moving.
I appreciate all the work she puts into it because it's updated quickly. I've never been in, but it wasn't up to date.
Yeah.
What we needed.
And it's easy to use too. It's easy to find stuff.
It's very user friendly. The search pieces, the whole part laid out, the layout, the pieces, I agree with that 100%. It's very, very nice to use. Easy for us to access the materials that we might need to find.
I would like to say it's a joint venture with mayor and myself. It's not just me.
Understood completely. A lot of pieces going in behind
A lot
to
of
keep things updated. Appreciate that input there in this case. But I mean, it takes work behind the scenes to keep something of that nature moving. I know. So we're in full year, correct? March.
It went in April.
Okay, so it wasn't. I knew we had originally, I looked back and we had originally shot for like March something, but
Yeah.
so I couldn't remember. the
Started
original
doing
date.
comparisons to last year, in another month or two.
Get a pretty good shot there in this case to look for. Good to see. So moving on as we want it to move in this case, starting to anytime we can help our community to access material is certainly a benefit. All right, we will move. There's nothing we need to discuss more, I guess, there in this case with the website, but I do want to discuss the audio visual equipment. I might say myself, I was quite pleased with the gentleman that came and took the time to go through some pieces. As Ms. Amy said, the video, when you go back and watch the video, it's all over the place, but it's because we had different talkers. We're looking in different areas. And that part was very good to see the opportunities we had in front of us. I know, Monty, did you get a chance to bring copies of that, or they are up here? I'm sorry.
Right there,
Good.
somebody printed them, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Amy. The copies, if you want to set there, right, you might grab one. Mr. Buckmaster, did you get a copy? If we want to go through that line item by line item, I might do it on a copy instead of on my phone. My phone's-
While we're on the topic, Ted reached out earlier this week. He let me know that the Tennessee contractor light card number came through, and he did send over earlier his federal, if you need his federal.
So his Tennessee I saw you sent that to me, the Tennessee contract.
Yeah, so
license.
he's got a federal, his federal, and what it is, I guess, from what I understand, for decades, he's been doing, Indiana, Illinois, Southern Michigan and stuff, to get some of the product lines that he was expanding into. They suggest he got his GSA certification so that he could be a direct vendor. Since he became a direct vendor for the government, they buy stuff directly through him. And so what he wanted to express to you this evening is that, the prices that you're gonna get is the highest you'll ever pay for it is what's on the government website, but he's giving a large discount, but they are, well, actually the manufacturer's discounting the stuff to us, through the quote. It would be considerably higher, I guess, if you want another avenue. He said it's all pretty transparent, where to jump on, start looking around, you figure that out pretty quick.
Are there anybody who's looked through this piece, are there any questions that you would have?
I still want to make sure that we can proceed with this without bidding it.
You don't have to. I mean, I think they spoke with the attorney, didn't they?
We spoke with the contractor.
Okay, and so we do not have to bid it.
If he is federally contracted, we are able to piggyback on that. And you just said that he was able to get through the state bids.
Yes, he's through the state. He's registered in the state.
Okay.
So.
Okay, I just want,
That's gonna be
I don't want us to proceed with this and get down to the bottom end and somebody throw the rock through the window like
once
we
I
have had
Once I
happen.
go back and get those numbers, I will verify all that to make sure that we don't have to do a bid and confirm that.
I mean, I think even at that case, where we're looking in the future, we've noticed that it's hard to come up with comparative bids on this.
I know, I mean, but it's just a time thing.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna save us months
Mhm.
and a lot of paperwork.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is you ought to try and find people around here that sell this stuff.
I understand.
There's not much demand. That's how I ended up back with, talking to Ted. It was the original quote that I, had read that you got from Florida. I was like, okay, where's this stuff coming from?
Right.
Let's cut out the middleman, go directly to the manufacturer. That's how we got to where we are.
I understand, and I am 100% on this project, have been for 2 years now.
Mhm.
It's just that I don't want it to get torpedoed at the last minute because we are governed by state law and we have to make sure
We want to follow those.
we're okay. That's
Yeah, we
all.
want to follow. it.
That's all I was saying. I wasn't speaking,
Mhm.
against it.
Are there any line items anybody saw? I know, as we look at these pieces, I know there's been a question or two, the Dell computer compact, the computer package, I'm sorry, in this case, that's the one computer that would sit here, the main,
No, I think that goes in the rack.
okay,
And that's what houses the software, the IP cameras and stuff are there. What's gonna be up there is gonna be a touchpad.
okay. Just like a
touchpad.
an iPad or something
Yeah.
similar,
Yeah, similar to a little nicer.
Right.
Bigger.
understood.
It's probably the Microsoft Surface that's.
Yes.
That's just that Surface, just a Surface Pro? Gotcha. Are there, any questions? I mean, the piece when you look at it, that total is a large total. Don't get me wrong. But when we're talking about clear communication with our public, and we're talking about quality conversation and quality video for archive records, I think we look at an opportunity to also improve for our hearing impaired. I think that was a big piece of this, is for our hearing impaired. We want to make things more clear and transparent. That's definitely the goal. I think the mayor has done a great job trying to put forth some pieces of it. Some meetings have a lot more interaction than others right now. I'd say there's quite a few on the school board Zoom meeting right now than are looking at others right now, but just, it's great to see the opportunity to let our public hear us and clear, and those that are in our midst here clear.
It's been the one thing that we've had more call from the community for and improvement on than anything.
You know, I've asked around, I haven't mentioned the number in asking around, but I haven't asked around, and more that most of you asked, hey, are you watching the meetings? Have you been watching? I watch some of them, but it's just so hard to hear. It always goes back to here. You know, if you're sitting in this area, we hear you well. And the mics are getting better, but there's still those little issues of intermittent stops and starts, and my mic's on, your mic's on. That, those pieces, but
The thing about this expense, it's a one-time expense for a long-time use. This is something, I don't know what the life expectancy of this type of equipment is, but typically solid state equipment is gonna work, so it would work.
what would be a general lifespan thought? Any
What did
idea?
you say? Were you here for the meeting? I can't remember. Okay, so
I would say, I mean, of course, anything is
20?
technology, it's
15 to 20, because it's not.
right. It just depends on how you treat it too. So, I mean,
Yeah,
you come in here and just beat it around, it's gonna be, but if you take care of it, the main thing is just make sure that you schedule times to clean the stuff. If you come in and don't let dust build up in it and let it burn itself out, and, have some maintenance done on it regularly as far as, dust and stuff like that. It would last, I would say, at least 10 to 15.
I mean, if you put it 10 years, you come out $7,000 a year. I just don't, if you put it over a 20-year,
Imagine software upgrades would be bigger, just to make sure we were up to date with all that.
Well, the situation on this particular package is that the software is inclusive without an annual subscription service. If there are updates that come down the line 2-4 years from now that we are interested in, because we are already in the system, it's just a nominal upgrade fee opposed to paying $1,200, $1,500, $3,000 a year for the license. We're not getting into that.
Yeah, that part was nice. We're not, the one from Florida that we talked about earlier, it had a yearly licensure contract. What you're speaking of there in this case. Yeah, there's other bids we talked about. We talked about that one like a year ago or more now. I guess it was January of 2020, right before we were just scheduled before COVID happened to have those conversations. Yeah.
well, we also want to realize that this sound system is going to be still used. It's going to go to the room downstairs, which will, in essence, we're providing better sound in 2 rooms, this one and the committee room downstairs. So don't discount that. I mean, it's not like what we have is being thrown in the closet and never used again. It's still going to be used, just in a different room.
Mr. Gregory could say, make sure that he would personally move the stuff down there, reallocate it, and install it down there.
All right, Mr. Ted here.
Yeah.
Get all the pieces moved for us, ready to go.
Take it all down there, put it up. make
So I think, we don't want to lose sight of that. I think that's a big, in my mind, it's a big plus, that we're not just junking what we have. We're still reusing it in a different location that needs it as well.
Improving another location. Okay. Mr. Buckmaster.
Why would we be using this system downstairs?
Simply because sometimes people say they can't hear down there. And if you're recording it, it would help with the sound fidelity if you're recording a committee meeting.
Are you talking about if we have multiple meetings at the same time?
Yes, typically, or sometimes there are people that would meet in that room that would not necessarily be up here.
In my opinion, if you're gonna spend $70-something thousand on the video audio system, you should hold all your meetings here scheduled appropriately.
Well, I'm sure we will try to, but still, this will be used in that
It can be
room.
used by the county for anything, that down there is just.
I'm just saying, if you can spend $72,000, you can use this room.
Of course.
I think as we look at that piece, I think it definitely, it would be a place I would want people to use, certainly in that case, if we look, but it's good to have these available to us in another location, and if we have a need, if there's overlying meetings, that can happen, things of that nature. So it's really good for that part. I don't disagree that if we're gonna spend this amount of dollars, if we need
Utilize
to,
those to the extent.
we need to utilize it as often and as best we can to improve but yeah, even in the county court itself, in the work session and in county court meetings, to me, having the hearing impaired improvement is going to be worth a vast majority of what we're looking at right here. I know as we're looking forward, that hearing piece, to me, when I started on this whole piece, the video is a plus. The hearing is where my whole goal, I know Mr. Buckmaster and I talked about this 2 years ago. And then we found out that there was already a conversation going on. Our hearing issue is where we've got to improve. And that's our public deserves that have hearing issues. I'm certainly, and my wife will tell you right now, my hearing is not as good as it once was. So I don't mind saying that. She knows she would agree for sure. She's probably nodding her head right now. But as we look, it's definitely worth that opportunity to me. And to me, for quality video, that plus it goes with it in the future, going back and looking at archive videos, they'll be on our YouTube channel. They'll be right there available. Having a quality understanding where I can go back, when I came on this county court, and there's going to be people coming in and out. I want to do something to the best of my ability when I get in, so I'm gonna go back and research. It's hard to go find good, they're written records, and don't get me wrong, but hearing the conversations, hearing how the conversations went and took place is very quality material. I know right now, I know we've talked, you'd still have to have a written set of minutes, but as technology continues, who knows where that's going to go on the written minutes versus those other pieces. That's a neither here conversation, but the hearing improvement is worth, to me, the vast majority of what we're looking at right here. No questions on where we are with any of the pieces? Any concerns? I think right now what we're looking at is we've got a piece in front of us. We need to, before we move this to the court, I'm wondering if we shouldn't know for sure if Ted's available to, if we can go the way you feel like he can. The numbers, you said the comptrollers are good, we're ready to roll at that part?
I feel like that it is highly going to go through.
Okay,
without issue.
I think that's our biggest issue right here that I see.
It's gonna go to budget and finance if we approve it, send it forward, and have to look at the money end of it there. Just whether this committee wants to recommend going forward with it or not.
Mr. Buckmaster.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because I really want this. But only part. And I've got no mind. I don't understand, start out small, why do I have speakers?
I'm sorry, say again?
Why do I have to have speakers?
Why do we need a speaker in the microphone? Mr. Taylor, you got a reason there for that thought?
The speaker and the speaker.
In the microphone, why did the microphone?
Because that's the way those units are manufactured. And what that does is that takes the speakers that one of the complaints I heard is hearing a person speak here clearly over there. So if you're speaking over here, you're not clearly heard over there. What's the idea? You put speakers up, okay, when you've got microphones, all these open microphones throughout this room, if they are in proximity of these microphones on the table, the tendency to have feedback is astronomical. The little speakers that are in the bases are feedback canceled.
Okay. My philosophy was if I need a speaker at the table to hear, what's the people sitting in the row behind me? How would they hear it?
These are just proximity speakers for the person that's there that can hear it. Everybody's saying here. What that is out here is a distributed audio system. It's not made to get loud. It's made for even coverage throughout every bit of this building up here, without it being loud. But it's to have even coverage, local intelligibility everywhere, and feedback.
Okay.
So in turn, people that are harder of hearing will hear the same sitting in the back or sitting up there as if they were sitting up here with one of the stations.
That was the small part. Like that, it seemed odd that I would need my own personal speaker because I want these people to hear everything I hear.
They don't, when you speak, your voice is not in your speaker.
No, I understand that.
It's in the other.
Everybody, even the ones out in,
Again, and that's not really my point. My point was if I had to have a speaker here in front of me to hear what Lonnie Taylor's saying over here, how are these people here?
Out here with the substances.
They're 5 feet from next to here. This is minor. This is like $20. The other thing I understand is when we're looking for visual and audio for the public is what I'm looking for. How much is this voting system?
It's just in the software. It's all part of the same package.
There's no additional cost.
It's
Let's
all
say I
in the
didn't
same
want it
software.
all.
It's
But I'm
all-
gonna be honest with you, I think it's gonna be extremely confusing. That's just my opinion.
were you here at the last meeting when we demonstrated that?
That's where it was.
Okay,
And that's where I got it. It's gonna be extremely confusing from.
okay. What part of it do you think?
Green button, yellow button, red button.
We'll just.
Green
standardize
is
it.
yes, red is no, and yellow is I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Let me
Let's-
put it
let's
this
keep
way, I
it
don't like it. I don't want it. Why do we have to have electronic voting system? Why can't we just have a roll call? Oh, what are we looking?
We could, it would speed up the process and it would give you an
It also
electronic.
gives you the record.
What I was gonna say, to me on the voting, I looked into that piece, because I thought the same thing on that piece. But to me, the record is there. The record, even though the record is gonna be recorded when Rita calls the roll call. But here, the record is on every vote.
Yeah.
So we have a record on every vote. And I'm gonna be straight up with you. I think it changes it puts, if we're all voting at one time instead of a roll call, you might choose, there's no doubt about it, there's gonna be people making choices based off what somebody else voted. So that cleans out that piece. To
Okay,
me,
so that's what I was thinking. If that was if we felt like that might be an improvement to not.
I think it will 100%. Yes,
That's.
Okay, I can get along with that.
Exactly.
I
100%.
don't agree with spending money just to speed up the process. I don't, you know.
That's one of the things, but that's not the whole reason.
And the last thing I wanted to know was, Mr. Gould, you'll be able to answer this more than anybody, because I heard a lot of this is gonna be controlled by the chair. Is this gonna bother you, any of this, push the button so I can speak? Is it gonna help you? Is it gonna hurt you? Is it an extra burden? Is there anything different that you would like to see?
From what I've seen of it, having never done it, actually using it, I don't think it would be any more burdensome. I think, is it gonna make it easier on me or the chair? Some ways it might make it easier, in other ways it won't. One thing it will do is in recognizing people when they request to be recognized.
yes.
It's gonna log, when you hit that button, want to be recognized, it's logging them in order. So I know who got there first, I know who to call on first, or who got that motion in, or that second in. So in that respect, that's gonna be a big help from controlling a group this large. I think, of course, the sound fidelity, the voting, when I became commissioner, I went and talked to an older commissioner who was no longer with us. And I told him, I said, I may need your help because I haven't been here long. I don't know who's mad at who over what. And he said, yeah, and he said, you're gonna have problems. And I said, what's that? And he said, you're not gonna know how to vote. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, by the time they get to you in the roll call, you know, you're gonna be up front and you won't know how everybody's gonna be voting, so you won't know how to vote. And the man told me that, and I said, I'm gonna vote now. I think I need to vote. I don't care what anybody else is doing. But there is that thought process, and you've seen it play out. I've seen it play out many times. And that's some that said, I'm not gonna do this, by the time they hear everybody doing it, they go along with it. And with electronic voting, I think it's gonna be a lot easier for everybody to not be intimidated.
Again, that was part of my open mind. My problem was I've seen a lot of times, and I've actually heard commissioners after the fact, really didn't even know what they were voting for. Was I supposed to vote yes, or was I supposed to vote no? I voted to not approve it.
Well, some of that is on the hearing side of it. And I think that's gonna be cleaned up in
And
the
that-
hearing side.
That may be.
And I think also when you enter in the motion in the system, it'll come across everybody's base of this is what the motion is right in front of you in text. So that might hopefully help the confusion on that.
Who's gonna put that in the text?
And I have a feeling on that.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe I missed that part.
I
But
didn't
it would
see
be up
that.
on the screen. We can.
That's what I was about to say. I knew it would be on the screens here,
And
but
that's one reason we wanted the screen,
Mhm.
instead of having an individual screen here. I want to see that. It's up here.
Those two big screens are a lot less money than having on each individual station, as you all said.
So I'm good with all that. My last question would be, and this is gonna sound dumb, but I mean, literally, we can't put windows in without getting permission from somebody. Is any of this gonna bother? I know we talked about the historical part of this building.
so to my understanding on this one, I'll let Lonnie talk on it, but we are very less invasive at this point, but I'll let Lonnie discuss that part.
There were two options. You can hang these screens on the wall like a picture. The quick connects for the video and the power inputs on it. Everything else is gonna be, it's gonna be a category cable for all the cameras. The cameras are power over Ethernet, so there's no running power cords and all that stuff. Everything is gonna be installed in a manner in which it can come out. The speakers are gonna be mounted in a way that if they need to come out of here for some reason, if they were gonna film in here or whatever, needed to be very correct, that stuff can come out. It's all gonna be put on quick connect, so.
We talked about maybe a small screw hole or two here.
Yes,
And that's all we're talking about.
When you remove the
Because
stuff,
I
that's-
see TV mounts and.
well, the TV mounts, these TVs are heavy.
Yes.
So we have two options. We can put them on stands. Stands are nice, but stands are expensive, and stands also, if they do fall over, somebody could be injured or die. That can happen. I mean, I hate to say it, but it can happen. I'm not a fan of the stands. The way that we can mount these things, we can put everything in with tack-ons in a manner so that it can be removed and put right back up. Or I'm not saying we, I was saying they will. But that's been a discussion with them since we started. Is this has to be as absolutely as non-invasive as it could be. And they agree.
That was my understanding on that part. We were definitely going to be sticking at a very non-invasive means for.
There's gonna be a PTZ camera back there somewhere, but that camera, when removed, it's a matter of a little Ethernet jack and two little holes that you won't need.
There was some discussion in time about putting two cameras back there.
That's what I mean, there's still be two
So
back.
there's two there and one up here.
Yes, one like this.
That's to be able to see the fullness of the committee, I believe is what I understand. Fullness of the commission. I think, there's some more discussions on that, on the commission layout in the future too, but that's not this committee spot right now.
Well, I will join with you on devil's advocate. This is not something that we have to have.
That's correct.
In the discussion, we do not have to have this. Do we need it? Is it something that's been looked at and talked about? Countless hours of research going into trying to find the best equipment for our needs here. And I think we've done our due diligence. This is not something that somebody waltzed in last week and we said, oh, well, let's just do that. We've really looked this over. And I'm delighted at the price based on what we had previously. And I think this is a whole lot better system and has a lot more pluses to it. But, there will be people that will applaud us for doing it. And there will be people that will rake us over the coals for doing it. So just be prepared for both.
Like, I like the audio, I like the video, there's other parts of it that I, to be honest, could care less about. If they're $2,000-3,000, it's not that big a deal. If they're $30,000, then it becomes a big deal to me.
Sure.
The audio and video is one of the very things that when I started running for this office, the transparency of government was one of those things. I want people to be able to go back and look what we did. And I want to hear exactly what I said and how I said it, along with everybody else. And this is from the demonstration, a great system for it. I love the system. Not even really, I think the price is a little steep for my blood, but I don't know enough about the equipment to know whether it's in line. Like I said, there were just some things went with it that seemed like some bells and whistles.
That's just a matter of turning on or off those options in the software.
Again, if it's not a huge cost associated with it, I still don't have a problem.
I think we talked up front with the non-voting machines were roughly $200 cheaper to get the non-voting little platform. When you look at $200 on 20 platforms, it's got some money to it, but in the grand scheme of where we're at on that money and what we're going to have available with the record and the voting, to me, that money on the voting side of he voted this, he voted this, he voted this, I'm 10 down the line or 12 down the line or 15 down the line or whatever. Well, I wasn't gonna go that way, but I'm gonna go this way. And I'm sorry, but that's
Hey, that's
human
the
nature of where we sit.
As long as you realize that benefit we're looking for now. Yeah, I wanna get.
That's where I was at with it.
I wanna get done quicker, get out of here quicker.
I was 100% on the other side of it.
I don't care if I'm here 5 hours for a meeting, that doesn't mean anything to me, we can do a roll call vote on every meeting, I'm fine with that.
And to me, I think it cleans up that part where we don't have to call a roll call vote. And when I say that, I don't mind calling a roll call vote, but now we'll have a record on each vote. Instead of an aye or an nay, we'll have a record. And I like having that record myself. Well, not for me, but for our future going on. That's what I want to see. Good records of where the county's at, where the county's going. And those pieces, to me, I look at it the same way. It's expensive. When I look at $70,000, it's expensive. But as I looked at it and I tried to make myself, all right, is it like icing on top of icing on the cake? Or is it a need? And where I sit, with the transparency of the public, with giving what it gives our public, when anyone can get up and have an understanding of what's going on in the county court, what do we do? What is going on today? What is our county court doing for us? They'll at least have heard what went into conversations before it became a tax increase or any piece that was happening. They'll have very quality opportunity. Now, they might not go take it, but it's there and available.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at. Is it expensive? I won't disagree. It's a bit expensive as a one-time cost. I like the one-time cost part of it. It should be something that we hope is durable. It's going to last a while. It seems like that's the case. I believe there was a 5-year warranty is what I understood with the piece up front. And an option to purchase additional warranty, I believe is what he
I think
said.
it was 3 and we could take it at 5.
Is that what it was? 3 and then take it off. Understood. I missed that part of it. I went back and read on that the other day a little bit.
I believe that's correct.
I knew there was an option.
So in reference to the financial side of this quote is $20-something thousand less than the original from Florida, from the firm out of Florida. $30,000 less than the one out of Florida. And that's after the amendments and the additions that were made.
Plus they had a yearly
Subscription fee.
subscription fee of $5,500 a year, I believe it was. And yeah, I mean.
Yeah, and so, but nobody's making light of the expense, but it is less than you, and this stuff is vetted. This is what is in the UN. This is what they use at the White House. This is what they use at the several embassies around the world. I mean, it's the same equipment, and,
But by the same token, this could be $30,000 more if you wanted little nameplates that light up with people's names, and you wanted a screen where you can see everything right in front of you. I mean, we're not going with the most expensive thing they can give us. We're trying to go with what meets our needs. Yes, it has some niceties that are just built into it. And so I think that's where we're at. DJ, you deal with these things all the time. Do you see anything on here that looks out of line as far as pricing?
I mean, not, and I actually asked for the quote last night and while I was in bed and I was looking through it, and I mean, there is some, it's, like he said, when you go and start looking at the TVs versus mounting them in stands, and me personally, if TV was on a stand right there, then it's a lot easier to pick that stand up and carry it down the steps and out the door versus if you got to come in here, unmount the TV, take it out and stuff like that. As far as
grip on the corner of that stand and it comes careening down.
right.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we need to mount them if we're gonna have them. I mean,
And as far as the voting system, there's no set way that says, okay, this is the system, this is how you have to use it. If the commission determines that everybody wants to vote at once, then everybody can do that. If y'all want to do a roll call and it's your turn to vote and they cut your mic on and you say yay, and you hit your green button, or nay, and you hit your red button, it just records those votes either way. So I mean, there's no set way. It's just determined on how the commission wants to use it. So once you get the equipment, then it's gonna be on, okay, we have it, so how do we want to use it? What, is the commission gonna make it, make a rule that meetings need to be held in here so they can use the equipment? When we take votes, so we're gonna do a roll call, each person call your name and vote, is everybody gonna vote at once? That's all gonna stuff secondhand that the commission will have to determine if it goes through. But I mean, as far as just extremely out of the ordinary, I didn't see anything that, that stood out to me.
You do notice that systems integration has not bid on this. If system integration had bid on this, it would have been closer to the $100,000 mark. But I went straight to the vendor. With Jeff Lepper's blessing, but I did go straight to the vendor. And that's how I was able to, come in so much less. Something else to take into consideration is the video quality of what people are seeing online. Being able to see clearly is a big deal. That's, what that translates to at home is not great.
Very much.
And that's a big thing. That's a real big thing.
And that's greatly improved from what we had a year ago.
Absolutely. No doubt. No doubt.
Clean and clear, but yet still with need. I think, the only other piece I've seen on this part that's not included in this is we do have to realize that we're, our courthouse will have to have a monthly Wi-Fi
And we are.
cost. So there is gonna be a little bit of cost monthly on that and some change,
Yeah.
but it's gonna benefit the entire courthouse versus just this piece.
And Stephen and I were looking at that earlier tonight, as far as what's coming in with these Ethernet, pretty much already all over the building. It's just bringing it in and hooking it in.
Yeah, we already have spots in the building. It's just a matter of moving them.
Little bits to get.
So the question I have is, so you've got a ton of wire coming up out of this over here. Are you looking to light every one of those lines up? Because that's gonna be,
No,
just so you know, I could see putting an access point in here and having a hardwire line to that server, that little Dell server. That's gonna be running the video software, and it's gonna run the software with that rack in it. But I can't see unless you just want to light up every one of those lines. Now, it can be done, but that's gonna require the county acquiring, a managed switch. And,
a lot of those lines went to recording devices and redundancy on recording devices for the court system. They're not even going to every building. Most of that bundle goes down to one office downstairs. The ones that go more to the building was in one of these offices over here.
that could,
So, this coaxial over here was a drop from Comcast. So that they could pull it in here and watch television. And we also jacked into it so that we would have that Apple router on it. And of course, when they moved out, we cut that off. That's why when he plugged the router, we moved it tonight, put it over here on the wireless. And so we can make that work. We've got high speed down here from at least three different vendors, but I know we've got it from Tri-County for the county buildings. It's just a matter of them adding it to this one.
Tri-County and Hartsville are gonna be here next week too.
That's not, I don't think, a big issue.
So we just need a motion to get this to budget and finance to look at, or we still?
Yeah, all we need to do is say, yes, we want to move forward with this. This is what we want to do as a committee. And then it would go to budget finance to see if we can figure out how to pay for it. And then it would go to the full body for, a budget amendment to be able to do it. Now, the question is where we're going to pull it, whether we're going to pull the money from fund balance or we're going to pull the money from COVID money. We really think this is one of those things that was allowed to use that money for. And that was one of the reasons we were wanting to go ahead and move forward with it, because we have some deadlines on that money that we have to use it by a certain date. So
I'll make the motion to recommend this as the committee's recommendation to go to budget and finance in order to move it forward.
Have a motion made to send the proposed quote here from Ted Gregory for a improved voting and audio system, visual system for the upstairs courtroom. Do we have a second on that? Do we have a second for that same piece? Mr. Lambert, DJ has seconded that piece to send this proposal to the Budget and Finance Committee and to see where it goes from there. So with the recommendation, we will take a vote on this piece here for sending the proposal to Budget and Finance. All those in favor of sending this, I tell you what, let's do that by, you want to go by, just to have a record, they will not go by raised hand. All those in favor, I'm sorry.
Do you want to roll call or?
Let's go roll call then. Just to have a truth from the,
Also, I emailed you, the federal.
I saw that come through.
That he
Yes.
sent today.
Landon Foley,
Yes.
Ken Buckmaster,
Yes.
DJ Linville,
Yes.
Lonnie Taylor,
Yes.
Amy Thomas, I vote yes. Seth Thurman.
Yes.
All right, and as we have a committee's approval, I appreciate the movement down this part. I really do. And I really appreciate as we look at it, others taking a look, they're not necessarily on our county court to take a look at where we are. Those that are sitting in our public here, and I appreciate that. We don't, committee members, as I stated there in this case, but I'm glad to see that part move forward. I want to know what our public wants to, and I think it'll be good for our public. I appreciate the meeting. I appreciate the conversation. We do, any other discussion, I don't see, and seeing no public, I guess there's not room for, public. Did you see some other discussion, Mr. Butler?
I just was curious, I don't know this question been asked, probably already been answered. If this is approved, what was the time frame to install it?
The majority of this stuff doesn't have the lead times on technology stuff.
I think we asked him that, he said 2 months.
Yeah, it was 6 to 8 weeks.
I felt like I heard it asked, but I couldn't remember the answer.
I mean,
That's
one of
what
the
I mean.
things that was really important to me when I started sourcing this stuff to the manufacturers was finding vendors that I could get as much American-made products and less Chinese as I could. There is Chinese, portions of this, but the majority of it is American. And, all the way down to the speakers that are going to be used for the distribution here, those things are all made here, everything's made here. And I'm going to tell you right now, I work in a world that supply chain is everything, as DJ knows. You try getting stuff out of the country in the form of electronics right now with our relationships with China. You'll wait a little while longer, you wait a little bit more, then they'll cancel your order after you've waited and you've got clients that are angry. I deal with that all the time.
Certainly good to hear that we're looking at about a timeframe of 6 to 8 weeks.
When they say go, yes.
Yeah, from the time it gives an opportunity. Hopefully we won't hit any hiccups with the contract availability without having to put it in the bid. But if we have to, that's a hurdle we are more than willing to go with.
We may do the budget amendment for a little bit more than this, because one thing that we've talked about doing is trying to get lecture with tables up here, so we're not quite so crowded, just so that we don't have to do another budget amendment with that, or if we do get into some extra cost with a drop or something. But
You do have to augment the lighting in here by upping the
Yeah.
wattage of these.
I bought some 150 watt equivalent LED bulbs. I just got to get in here with a ladder and see exactly what these are. I'm hoping these are 75 or 100. I really think those are probably 75s I'm looking at. And that would double that. That will help greatly.
I know we said that, but the lighting part based on the videos.
Yes, you gotta double the illumination here, or we have good image.
Mr. Buckmaster.
So you're gonna get this on budget finance this month then?
If,
I
yeah,
know.
I don't think there's, I don't know.
we had thought we would try to.
It's important. It needs to be done. I mean, I know I argued a little bit about it a while ago, because
No.
there's some things in there I don't care whether it's there or not, but the audio and video it's something should have been done years ago, and I appreciate everything everybody done. I really like the video part of it. Really.
There's some of
like
those things, I agree 100%. It's kind of like buying a car. I'm not gonna use cigarette lighter, but it's got one in it. You know what I'm saying?
Not anymore.
But, well, I'm just saying that,
I know. Let's go with it.
Some pieces are gonna come with it that are
Absolutely.
needed, and some that are not needed.
and I think DJ's analogy of just, it's there if you want to use it, if you don't want to use it, you can do it a different way. So you have that flexibility too, so.
And just so you know, I mean, it wasn't that I didn't want to make the motion or second it, it's just I'm the one that did the research and brought this stuff forward, and I didn't feel it was appropriate.
I'm quite thankful that we.
Oh, and I vote yes too, oh, by the way.
Keep it right.
I'm thinking we had non-commission members, part of our program, who were willing to see and look at this thing, because I really want to know what our public thinks. To me, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a
Well, we
great
put
thing.
so much effort. I have spent hundreds, I'm gonna say hundreds of dollars on this. With that other vendor, just trying to get something started.
And I've had hundreds of people ask me to do something about it.
Absolutely.
Correct. They want to hear something happen, and technology costs, it has a cost. But I think one thing well said here, I don't think we went out and tried to buy the Cadillac version. We put the pieces that we needed to get the best quality we could get out of the parts. Those pieces are expensive. There's definitely a Cadillac version out there that has more pieces, more parts. We can
And
upgrade
some
and upgrade.
Scrubs and blacks.
We're not gonna be the ones to decide how this is paid for, but we're kind of at a time in history where there is money out there related to this pandemic. Let's use it if we can.
To be quality for our future too, to improve our
Let's do that now.
opportunities.
We've got the opportunity to do it.
100% with you. I appreciate that. No members of the public are here, so I guess there's no need for public comment. Mr. Buckmaster,
Motion to adjourn.
we have a motion to adjourn, seconded as well, non-debatable, so all those in favor say aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Seth, I really wish you seen it done.
If I'm not mistaken, he said that he was bringing a couple guys with him, but he'd also be hiring.
He said he would love
He
to
did, he's
hire-
gonna try to hire some in-town folks to help him do himself. I like the, have you watched the Livingston, or any, what, it was Livingston, right? No, it was, yeah, Livingston.
Yeah, I jumped in.
Yeah, Livingston's